Greetings and welcome to In Depth. I'm Dike Rostant. The first week of the new school term is in the books, and as always, there are things to be worked on, tweaked, modified, etc. Director of Schools Supervision Aaron Ramrattan, he joins us now to discuss a longer vision of cultural transformation in schools and some of the incremental steps to get us there. Welcome and thank you for joining us, Mr. Ramrattan. And I want to ask, though, first to start off with expectations. What are some of the expectations for schools in the new academic year, some of those major activities and initiatives?
Thank you. So the Ministry of Education has been extremely busy, and we have embarked on a number of projects and initiatives. Let me just briefly mention some of them that are from our Education Plan 2023-2027. We have our digital transformation, our patriotism policy, private school registration policy, homeschool policy, our remediation program, restorative practice, after-school education program, and of course, our cultural transformation policy through curriculum enhancement. Preparing for the new academic year also involved the vacation revision program, where during the July-August vacation, we had students engaged at the primary and secondary level. Currently, we're in the process of distributing laptops as we speak to students and teachers. But today, let's get specific with regards to cultural transformation policy. This initiative is a very important one for us. In a culturally diverse nation, such as Trinidad and Tobago, there is a need to develop and maintain a national culture, which at the same time caters for multiplicity of ethnic and religious cultures sharing the same space. Culture can have a great impact on education and subsequently act as a catalyst for social change or transformation of a society within a society. The focus in the past has been mainly on academic curriculum, but now we have seen the need to revise our programs, one in which will add areas such as moral, physical, technical and vocational education and training, arts and culture, which were less monitored and assessed in the past. Students now will be exposed to a range of mandatory school experiences, which will promote the development of the life and 21st century skills. There will be expectations with daily activities such as singing of the national anthem, recite the national pledge, recite a prayer, and recite the school pledge or sing the school song. There will also be allotted time for school assemblies, which include class teacher sessions at both the primary and secondary level, where teachers discuss positive values, attitudes, and behaviors with students, discuss global current events, and share with students a 5 to 10 minutes of quiet introspection. Termly activities will include No to Violence Day. Annual activities will consist of modern languages, visual and performing arts, sports day, career day, entrepreneurial project, iconic TNT project involving people, practice, and places, student maintained kitchen garden, science fair and innovation fair, and along with this, class field trips. So these are some of the activities that we'll be initiating through our cultural transformation policy.
And it makes me want to ask a few things because you gave us a lot of information. And one of those things is, how does this tie into other things already taking place at schools? Because, for instance, you said that the quiet time or the quiet introspection would be about 5 to 10 minutes. But I know that sometimes when you have individuals or you have teachers or the educators saying, okay, well, this is my lessons plan, and I need to get through this for the day. So is that something that is just, okay, well, the teacher's saying, this is what we're supposed to do. Have they had help to say how they're going to inculcate this into what it is they do already on a daily basis? What was that process like working towards where we are now?
Sure. Well, the process involved reviewing our current way of operations, school operations, and in doing that, we would have looked at the current school's timetable at both the primary and secondary level. Looking at that, we realized that we need to revisit our current structure of subject offerings and other activities. To include these activities and what I just shared with you, it involved changing the current timetable. So now we will have an adjusted timetable. In addition to that, even the delivery of the curriculum and the way we interact with our students, the educational opportunities now through our cultural transformation policy and initiative will allow for teachers to be trained in the delivery of the curriculum with the subject content, and now ensuring that we integrate these activities. So therefore, the time frame and how that is allotted in our curriculum delivery and having these activities, they would all be adjusted. So teachers will be able to do these activities in this revised format.
I'm also wondering what kind of input was there from different stakeholders saying, okay, well, these are some of the things we need to do. So these are some of the things that we want to have people aware of and sensitive to nationally as it pertains to culture. But then you would also have individuals who would know, would have specific interests, I guess. So like Montrose Vedic, there'd be possibly some things that you'd want to learn specifically versus a school that is in Fifth Company, has a lot of individuals who are of American heritage, and we saw an event just took place with the Americans. So what are some of the incremental steps moving towards saying, okay, well, yes, we want to inculcate this, we want people to learn this, both nationally and possibly a little more specifically with regard to locations?
Okay. So in doing that, the Ministry of Education, we would have had consultations with different stakeholders. And different stakeholders, one would be the denominational school boards. So they would have had an input. Then with actual individuals through our national consultation, they would have also had the opportunity to share and give an input with regards to where we are now. And we would have done some research with regards to policies within our Caribbean region and within our national goals to come up with this overarching final product. So those things would have happened to allow to reach to this point where we can now safely embark on this, knowing that we would have had that comprehensive collaborative approach and some research into educational policies and what's currently taking place to come up with this final product that we have through our cultural transformation policy. And it's part of the trajectory of our own national culture, because we want to ensure that our students get that sense of citizenship and be able to identify themselves within our country. It also will support their educational learning experiences and to enrich that as best as we can, and to tie in that with our national development as well.
All right, thank you so much. And we continue speaking about this when we return. We are having a conversation with the Director of School Supervision, Aaron Ramrattan. We're looking at cultural transformation in schools. Stay with us, we return with more. Welcome back. We are discussing how we can build a sense of citizenship and cultural confidence through cultural transformation in schools. We're doing so with the Director of Schools Supervision, Aaron Ramrattan. And Mr. Ramrattan, in terms of the mandatory aspect of it, daily, termly, how necessary is this? And do all of the schools do all of the activities?
Yes. schools in their daily operations are required to do these activities. However, because of schools in terms of their own context, may not have really approached the holistic aspect of the cultural transformation policy with regards to all the required activities. So we would have looked at it and find a way through having activities on a daily basis and on a termly basis and also on an annual basis that will allow for the planning and execution of these activities. Just like how the Ministry of Education, we would prepare a calendar of events that we would give to our schools, principals, teachers, and of course, stakeholders can all share in their own calendar of events and follow through with their series of activities. So the singing of the national anthem, saying the pledge, having morning assembly. These are things we would like nurtured in our students because they are very important. And as well, the things that we are looking for in terms of the termly and annual activities. So yes.
And where do you start it from, in the sense that where do you start it in primary school? This is outside of the anthem, the pledge, that general assembly. Some of the other things like those field trips, doing things to increase that sense of citizenship. Where do you start it in the primary school, and where do you continue it in the secondary schools?
Well, it started in the primary school. It can start as early as even the infants level. These things carry a protocol in regards to how it is done and executed. And it requires having teachers plan these activities along with the curriculum content of what we are doing pertaining to the students' particular learning level. And of course, from there, we will be able to build on that at the junior and senior levels, and it goes straight into the secondary level. Of course, the interests will deepen and it will vary, but at the end of it, all students can benefit from these field trips and also engage in a learning experience outside of the classroom. So it's in the classroom as well with the curriculum delivery, but again, it's now extended to having these field trips where students can also benefit and enrich their learning experiences in so many different ways, building their social skills and at the same time engaging in other content, curriculum content, and integrating that in their own personal learning experiences.
And it make me want to talk about inactive learning and defining the classroom, if the classroom is just that brick and mortar, or is anywhere where there's that process of education going on. And from my own experience, there were things that I didn't realize that I was learning because of the mix that was there in the community that I grew up in. And when I was removed from that outside, I would say, hey, I know this. Hey, I know this. I'm sensitive in this way. And it also helps to build that level of inclusion in addition to just that level of sensitization. But I can imagine somebody watching this conversation now, Mr. Ramrattan, and saying, that's plenty thing, boy. So and how them teachers going to be, how those principals are going to be. So you spoke about training, but what are some of those other things that you can lay out and say X, Y, Z in terms of the way that the Ministry of Education will be supporting principals in the implementation of these sorts of things?
All right. So yes, we don't want principals or teachers to feel overwhelmed. We want the excitement and we want the learning to be a very rich and rewarding experience. So to do that, again, as I said, we are going to have an adjusted curriculum. It will include timetabling and assessment, and will prioritize the development of academic, moral, physical, cultural, and arts and TVET areas of the curriculum. Principals and teachers will benefit from ongoing professional development to support effective classroom delivery and the implementation of these activities in the school operations. So what we have at the district level, we have school supervisors, we have curriculum officers, and we have student support services division. These three divisions come together. They are referred to as the district lead team. So that level of training, that level of support, providing the required resources, and to go with this, we also have a manual that will have the relevant information. So activities guideline manual will be shared with principals and teachers, and even deeper than that, the level of training at the classroom level for every teacher to feel that sense of comfort and be assured that it is manageable and they would not be overwhelmed. So that level of support will be provided to all schools, both at the primary and secondary level.
Thank you so much for that. Now, in terms of this adjusted curriculum, what are aspects that will be monitored to say, okay, well, this is happening? Are there going to be, I don't want to say tests, but will there be some level of looking and saying, okay, well, what we want to happen is happening? Is it a matter of saying, okay, well, yes, some people might say the broad category is flags, but in Hinduism, you'd have Jandi, in spiritual Baptists, you have banners. What are some of those kind of monitoring and evaluation processes that will be taking place?
Yes, but the monitoring aspect of it is one in which will allow us for reviewing of how we currently assess our students. So it will not be one in which would be purely academic. It will give students the opportunity now to be assessed differently. So we're going to add that value, the added value to our students, and really look at monitoring where we look at all aspects of students' development. And it will have that cross-section in terms of monitoring and assessing our students. So at the school level, training will be done with regards to assessment of students and how we can now review our assessment, not to be one in which it is just based on content and just academic, but all the other skills that we so want our students to develop at the same time, where that level of assessment could also play a role. So if students are doing gardening as an activity, how do you assess that? It will be different from just sitting down and doing a normal test. So it will be looked in that context and how we review our students' potential in terms of their abilities and really gauging assessment along those lines, and not just purely of one of testing on a paper per se.
I am so glad to hear you say that, Mr. Ramrattan. But in the minute that we have, I want to know, have these activities already started to take place in school, in addition to any closing comments that you have in the final 50 seconds, please?
Yes, these activities are already happening in our schools. It is that all schools are not probably on the same standardized or uniform format of actually carrying them out because of whatever reasons. And the Ministry of Education, we understand this, and we realize the need now to ensure when we use the word mandatory, it must be a must experience for all our students. Hence, this cultural transformation policy is one which will allow now for us to really embrace this in the right way, and given the framework for all schools to really adopt this and be able to enrich those educational experiences and learning experiences for our students. So it is something that's going to augur well for us, and it's going to lead to a very big picture where we want to ensure we have a progressive society and a disciplined workforce. Students themselves and the overall situation with crimes and what is happening, we're going to build that positive values and attitudes in our students that now will allow for positive behaviors to really take the forefront. And of course, it will lead to the outcome we want in our society for the future, and of course, for Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ramrattan. Aaron Ramrattan, Director of Schools Supervision, looking at cultural transformation in schools and how it is we can do that. And on behalf of the entire TTT News team, this has been In Depth with me, Dike Rostant. Thank you so much for joining us.